Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can always email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have C.DeAndre Smith. We'll be discussing his fantastic book, The Customer's Always Right, available for purchase through Amazon, barnesandnoble.com. But if you guys want to get everything that Andre has to offer, listen, do yourself a favor and go directly to his personal site, penthetalepublishing.com. That's PENTHETALE publishing.com. There, not only will you find more information on Andre himself, find more information on this book, as well as find hyperlinks set up to take you to the purchasing page. So one more time, that's penthetalepublishing.com. Andre was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by some of the best movers in the business. UR Link Print and Media Publishing. So if you have a book that you'd like moved, do yourself a favor and contact our good friends over at UR Link. And you can find out more information on them at urlinkpublishing.com. And guys, listen, sit back and just get ready, because we are going to have some fun today. All right. I'm very much looking forward to speaking with Andre. Once you go to his Amazon page, his Barnes & Noble page, or even directly through his site, penthetalepublishing.com, and you start to do any research on the book, you understand what we're going to be getting into today. Okay. Now, Andre spent some time working in an adult store. Okay. And for any of you out there listening in that has always had a desire to go in but never went, it is quite the experience. Okay. So I'll leave it at that. And he accumulated a number of stories based upon his time there. Now, not only is it going to be a fun journey, but guys, the underlying message, really the importance of the book, is to educate. Now, we know that things are definitely moving in the right direction, but we're not quite there yet. As a society, a lot of times we put labels on other people, especially with regards to their sexuality. And as I stated, we're definitely moving in the right direction, where things are starting to be much more fluid, much more accepted across the board, but we have a lot of work to do. And with a book of this magnitude, that's really going to help chip away at those stigmas and really break down those barriers that are still placed in front of us. So without further ado, let's jump right in. First and foremost, Andre, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you so much for being a guest. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm great. I'm much better now. Listening to the introduction, I'm like, wow, he's talking about?
Well, listen, I meant every word, man.
I appreciate it.
You know, again, growing up in the just from my specific background, the community in which that I've come from, it's not like certain things that you discuss or certain things that you do with regards to sexuality. Being an African-American male in the community that I come from, like, listen, man, there's just certain things you don't talk about. There's certain things you don't do.
Exactly.
And there was always that stigma growing up. And I think your book is going to help tremendously. So I meant every word that I said, and I'm really looking forward to this. Now, Andre, before we jump into the book, man, I know we have so much information to cover, but start by telling our listening audience a little bit more about yourself.
Well, let's see. I was born in Chicago, moved out here to California, in San Diego specifically, when I was 14. When I turned 14, it was a bit of a culture shock, because as you well know, coming from the East Coast and West Coast, society is a little different, culture is a little different, Absolutely. Language, swag is a little different, and it's much more laid back than where I'm from, and it's a lot more to take in, and so I think that really is what got me started on this path of just being more inquisitive and objective and aware of other people's language, other people's habits, other people's views. And when I went to Los Angeles, that just further, I went to Los Angeles to go to college, to go to Loyola Marymount. And I went during a time it was very historical in terms of a lot of things happened while I was up there. You had the Rodney King incident that happened and the trial and the riots. I was center stage for all that. I was up there also during the Nicole Brown Kidman murders. I'm very unfortunate, and the OJ chase and the OJ trial and the verdict. So there's been a lot of chaos that I've been around, and I've been able to watch how people have reacted to that. And sometimes it can bring people together, but oftentimes it's very divisive. And I noticed a lot of times people are saying the same thing, but they're not really listening to each other to figure that out. It's just coming from a different angle. And one of the problems that comes from that is that they tend to label. And these labels are not so much about the person or thing they're labeling. It's about the labeler so that they could try to understand and cope with what they're dealing with and put it in a box. And the problem is you can't put people's situations necessarily in a box because we're greater than that. We have more than one definition. We are eclectic in our taste,
absolutely,
in our values and the way we see things. And we have to learn to appreciate the whole of a person and not one particular part of a person that we ping on so that we could try to better understand that person, because there's always an exercise in futility because you can't do it that way. You have to take a person for everything and be open and receptive to them. And I've noticed that working there, that in society, especially when it comes to sex, people tend to want to box others in so that they can get a greater understanding of who that person is and why they do what they do, instead of trying to understand why that person is the way they are and being accepting of that, even if it's different from what you were taught and your upbringing. And so that's basically what a lot of the book is about. It's just saying we all want acceptance. That's the name of the game, and no matter what your sexuality is or your gender or your preference, we all want to be in some form or another accepted.
I have so many things that I want to say and that I want to unpack, and I have to refrain, right? Because I'm like, Benji, this is not about you. Okay, we're here to talk about this man's book. Let's stay focused here. Right. Now, Andre, you've already started to go into the answer for this next question, and I want to go a little further into it, utilizing your experience working at the location that you worked. As I stated before, and as you've already started to go into, when it comes to sexuality, there's all these stigmas that are placed upon it by society. Now, what were you able to learn from your time working at the adult shop that helped maybe change your own views about sexuality?
I realized that a lot of my views that I had about others was really how I viewed myself. And that tends to be true with a lot of things, where they'll say things that you may not like about another person or things you really don't like about yourself. And I also learned earlier, before I even, while I was working at the shop. Down in San Diego, we have a tantric community that's very big here. And basically, it teaches you all about energy, which is what I'm about. I'm very much about energy, a person's vibe, a person's energy. And I started to realize that it wasn't so much male, female that defined person. It was a masculine or feminine energy, because everyone gives off a different energy. And it can be, some people's energy can be quiet. Some people can be more aggressive. Some can be warm. Some can be cold. And that's a big part of attraction, is the energy that a person gives off, the vibe that they give off. And I learned to accept, especially with males, because in Chicago with men, and you may know this as well, to look at a man eye to eye, where I'm from in Chicago, it's saying something. It's like, what are you looking at? Mm-hmm. So it's either you stare too long, we're going to have a problem, or if you are staring too long, it means something else, which is you're attracted to me. And that's another problem, because growing up in my era, gay, it was a very homophobic era in time,
of course,
which was like the 80s and the 90s, and the music was very homophobic. And so that's kind of in my mind how I saw it. I would go to the shop, and I remember I would have problems even sorting through gay videos, looking at men like that, because it was just something in my mind that just wasn't right. And funny enough, I started to meet more gay men, and I just started to develop these relationships, like friendships with them. And they were very genuine, very funny, very cool to be around. And I realized that the programming I had about gay men was completely wrong. You know, that they're men, their preferences and their sexuality may be different from mine, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means it's different. Absolutely. You know, what's wrong for one person may be wrong for someone else. And who am I to say or think that the way another person conducts their life, if it's not harmful to another person or themselves, that it's not right? And to this day, I have very close relationships with men who are gay that have come in the shop. I have close relationships with a lot of people, but, you know, I learned to literally judge people by who they are, not what they identify as, you know, male, female, or what they're born as, which is the sex they were born. Because there's a difference between, you know, sex and gender. Your sex is what you're born as, you know, male, XY chromosome, testosterone, penis, you're a male. Female, XX chromosome, estrogen, vagina, you're a female. Your gender is a social construct, which is set apart by society and rules and behaviors. And it's solely about how you identify yourself, and it's independent of your physical body. This is something I didn't even know about. So I was educated on these things working there, and it caused me to reanalyze and reassess my values and my beliefs in a good way, you know, because it made me sit and look in the mirror and say, what is it? If you have a problem with the person, what is it really? And is that problem really with them, or is it with the problem with you? And it was with me. And it was the way I was seeing other people, because I'm saying, if this person is cool and somebody that I can laugh with and hang out with, you know, in terms of having great conversations, which I love to do, just because they are of a different sexual preference than me, what does that matter? You know, it doesn't. And so those are the types of lessons I learned while working there. You know, these people educated me as much as I'm trying to educate people through the book. Mm-hmm. You know, and I'm very grateful for all the people that I've come across, because it's helped me to become a better person, certainly more objective and understanding, compassionate and communicative, which is what the society lacks so much, is really open and honest communication. And that is a big problem.
You know, Andre, I love this stuff, man. This is fantastic. Guys, again, here on the line with C.DeAndre Smith. We're discussing his book, The Customer is Always Right, available for purchase through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or directly through his site, penthetailpublishing.com. Andre, your book is a culmination of all these different stories and people that you have met. Mm-hmm. I'm really curious, man. Is there a particular story that you know, that you would categorize as maybe your favorite that you can share with our audience?
I can tell you probably the most profound thing that was said to me. It was pretty early on, and this is the funniest as well. And it basically summarizes the entire tension that is often associated with couples when they come into the store. If one person is not comfortable and another person is kind of all about it, right? So this one night, I'm working. It's probably about 10:30. I'm drinking off, and I wrote this story. Actually, it's in the book. And this couple comes to the door. So a lady comes barging in, and, you know, she's got the guy in tow. Now, the whole time he's tugging at her, because you can tell he doesn't want to be in here. And she's looking at the wall with all the vibrators and things, like a kid when they run up to an ice cream truck. They have all the ice cream. You're trying to figure out which one they want, right? And so she's running up there, and she's looking at the bullets and the eggs, and she's seeing the 10 functions and waterproof, and she's just in heaven. And the entire time, the male counterpart, he's tugging at her, like trying to pull her away. He's like, can we get out of here? Can we leave? And she's kind of swatting his hand away, you know, like, you leave me alone. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, fine. So he kind of pouts. And it's funny because he kind of stormed out like, you know, a kid when they want a toy and they can't get it. And so they pout and have an attitude. He's walking out. But the funny part is the woman, she was there looking for the toy, right? So she's like, I'm getting the toy. You know, you can do whatever you want. So he storms out, right? And I'm sitting there looking at her, and I'm kind of smirking. And so she grabs 2 toys off the wall, and she comes up to the counter. And as I'm conducting business and putting batteries in, I'm like, so what was his problem? What was that all about? And she says, oh, he doesn't want me in here for whatever reason. He said, and I'm like, what, does he think you're replacing him with these? And
right.
She's like, I don't know, I guess, but I work hard for my money. I get what I want. I said, yeah, that's true. And then it was a pause. And at that moment, she looked at me and she says, besides, God gave it to me. I'm going to play with it. And I was speechless. I was like, well, it looks like it. Yeah, I guess so.
Absolutely.
Like,
she ain't lying. She ain't lying.
I'm going to play with it. That's right. Yeah. Yep. And so, that's probably why he was mad, because she knew not that he was mad, because he knew that she didn't need him. She had everything she needed. And matter of fact, when he left, she's like, fine, go. I got like 20 functions between these two toys. I got waterproof, batteries will outlast you for days. I'm good. So she was good, man. So I when she said that, as a matter of fact, it was so funny. I was thinking about naming the book that, and I'm like, no, because then you got the religious stuff you got to deal with. So I was like, okay, I'll just put it in the chapter. But yeah, that one sticks out the most, and that happened pretty early on, because when you really think about it, the reason why it's so profound is, if you look at that wall, that's basically what it's all about. Mm-hmm. It's about, women, pleasuring themselves, taking care of themselves, taking care of their needs. Like, I don't need a man. I got a jackrabbit or a pulsing panther, with more functions. And when it's done, I can put it away and won't have to hear anything else about it. So she's like, I got my popcorn, my bonbons. I got my light me up bullet. I'm good for Friday night. I've heard that so many times. And I'm like, have fun. And that's it. So
that's fantastic.
It's all about, it's all about, finding what excites you, finding what you enjoy, and not being ashamed to experiment with that and enjoy yourself.
Absolutely.
That's the problem, is that because of society, and religion has a big part of it too, but we're told what we should think, and instead of being taught how to think for ourselves. It's like, that's bad. But you're not told why. You just say it's bad. Why? Because someone says so. Well, who is that someone? I'm not living that someone's life. I'm living my life. So if it's good for me, like I said earlier, and it doesn't hurt anyone, I'm not hurting myself, why? Not only why do you care, but how can you label it as bad? Good and bad are subjective. They're not objective. Mm-hmm. So you just have legal, illegal, and even those lines get blurred, as we all know. So what someone says is bad for them is good for someone else. So who are you to basically legislate another person's life? As we talked about a little bit before we got on air, is the narrative, right? You don't live someone else's narrative.
Absolutely.
You live your narrative. But the problem is, a lot of people don't know what their narrative is, because they've been told what to think, and they've been told what they should do. And they never really have gotten to the important question is, what do I want? And what do I do? And even more profound is, it's okay for me to want this and for me to be this way.
Of course.
Because I say so, not because someone else says so, and that's a larger part why I wrote the book as well, because I want people to stop being cloaked by this albatross of shame and this guilt just for being human. Curiosity is natural. Mm-hmm. It's who we are. It's how we learn. You see it in animals all the time. They're curious. That's how you learn. So instead of promoting that a lot of times when we're younger, even older, I've seen women come in the store and they're curious about something and they say, oh, I shouldn't be thinking that way, or I shouldn't try. Like, why? I said, well, my husband, he thinks I'm weird, or things like that. And you know what happens in about a year? I see them in the store with another man, if not 6 months, or they're getting divorced. All because people label and they stereotype and they stigmatize instead of educating and explaining and encouraging curiosity. And that's one thing about myself. I've always been it's gotten me into some predicaments, but it's one thing about me is I've always been an inquisitive and curious person. I never accept being told something. I ask why. And I tell everybody, question everything. Skepticism is beautiful, because that's how you learn. You don't accept what someone tells you. Why am I being told this? Why is this bad for me? Why am I not allowed to like another person of the same sex? Why am I not allowed to like another person of the same gender? If that's my reality, if that's my preference, who are you to say it's wrong? Maybe according to your narrative, but not by mine. And that's one of the themes of my website and my book and the whole pin the tail. It's a play on pin the tail. It's pin the tail. In other words, write your story, create your narrative, and live by that.
When it comes to wanting to educate ourselves and just expand our knowledge, you can go out, you can get books if you're inquisitive like that and you want to learn more about it, get around a certain group of people and you learn from them. There's not a stigma when it comes to education. There's not a stigma when it comes to, hey, I want to learn how to play this sport. I want to learn how to knit. I want to fish. I want to do all of that is always very much accepted. That's that individual and that's their choice and that's what they want. Why isn't sexual exploration given the same benefit? As a partner, especially, you bring up this story about this woman and her husband or boyfriend, whoever that may have been to her. And guys, listen, those stigmas are very much alive within relationships as well. As a partner, sexual exploration is liberating. There is so much benefit in how it could actually help your relationship grow and develop and actually bring you two together. Or even if you're single, sexual exploration is going to help you really learn so much about yourself. And when you know more about yourself, you can become more confident in yourself. And when you become more confident, that's truly when you start to raise your level. You raise the bar on the person you are and the person you were meant to be. I absolutely love that. Listen, it starts with this book, guys. I have so many things that I can continue to talk to Andre about. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Okay. The onus is on you. You guys know what you have to do. Amazon, BarnesandNoble.com, PenTheTalePublishing.com are the places you have to go. The Customer's Always Right is the title you have to pick up. And C.DeAndre Smith is the author you have to thank for bringing it to your table. You surely will not be disappointed. Let's grow, let's develop, and let's educate ourselves. Let's broaden our horizons. Andre, this has been a pleasure, man. Thank you once again for being a guest with us today on People of Distinction.
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.